for themselves this week on our literature slot. We have a young author that hails from Welkom in the Free State. The 25-year-old's debut read is titled Native Footprints. In the book, Fezile Sonkwane publishes a series of thought-provoking socio-political essays that invite readers for a dialogue. Fezile is joining us in studio to talk more about the book. Fezile, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Okay, so we kind of touch on it in a way in our intro, that it is a book about essays, some thought-provoking ideas related to what affects young people at the moment. But what inspired you to put down these ideas and thoughts and wanted other young people to identify with what you've written? Or was it just, I needed to express myself?
Well, I think what inspired me to actually write this book is the fact that I've been a writer almost, my entire life since being a teenager, and I've always enjoyed, contributing to the socio-political space in South Africa, mainly through newspapers, columns, and all that. So I think
you write for a couple of newspapers.
Yes, in the Free State where I come from. I've contributed and I continue to contribute in provincial newspapers, columns. So the book, I think, came as a result of the work that I've done before. Also taking into consideration the fact that I've been involved in small organizations and big organizations that represent young people in South Africa. So I think through that experience, I was then motivated to actually have this book.
There's just so many debates at the moment about what really affects young people. There was a career expo yesterday in the Eastern Cape. We see a lot of debates around what is affecting young people. What are affecting young people? You talk about politics here. You talk about issues of identification, issues of ownership. But what are some? I know it's not one thing. Yes. What are some of the primary issues that, from your engagements, that young people are really concerned about?
Well, I think it's quite obvious now that access to higher education it's a topical issue among young people now. So I think it's important, for us when we discuss, issues and challenges that confront young people, to have that in mind. That young people, at this particular moment, they are fighting for access to higher education. Challenges like youth unemployment are also looming large. And unfortunately, in the book, there are some ideas that I have in terms of how can they be addressed and so on. So I think in the main, young people do want a situation whereby access to higher education, access to the economy, is something they can attain. So in the book, I actually express the aspirations of young people.
Now, here's my thing: is these aspirations that you're expressing, are they reflective of one ethnicity or a one race group, or is this all young people across the board? Because in the book you also address some of the issues reflected to white people in current South Africa.
Yes, that also is as a result of me coming from I wouldn't say a multiracial school, but a multiracial background in terms of my upbringing. I've been fortunate, I think, like many other young South Africans, to interact with people of all color, in our country. But mainly the narrative in the book comes from a perspective of a young black person and the struggles that are faced, by people like myself. And of course, we, in the book also touch on issues of non-racialism, an ideal society that we want to have, and that includes people of all color. But I think specifically, the book touches on challenges that face young black people.
And also, you've written it in such a way that it's quite easy, it's digestible. You don't have to read the entire book from cover to cover to understand. It's written in short ways. But one of the things is you've got Professor Sipho Siepe to do the foreword for you.
Yeah, I still can't believe it. Professor Sipho Siepe is someone who's supported me from day one. He actually read the manuscript, imperfect as it was, and commended me for that work. And he wrote the foreword, and in the foreword he actually said, this is a collection of thought-provoking essays into South Africa's socio-political issues. I think that coming from him...
So were you jumping up and down in your...
till today, I mean, he's someone I look up to, and hopefully in the future I'll be where he is, yes.
It's a debut novel, so
Yes.
it's your first offering, and you're looking at it from a very young perspective, or from your current reality.
Yes.
And one of those issues are, you also talk about elements of the EFF. But for me, the question ultimately lies in the dialogue that you want young people to have, the quality of that dialogue. And I think a lot of people are around, how do we debate issues that affect young people, but in a way that has a quality element to it, that's quantitative, and that we can move forward from it?
Well, I think it's important to know that in the book, because it talks about socio-political issues, I touch a lot on almost all political parties that are represented in our National Assembly, not only the EFF. But I think it's important for young people to be informed. Hence, the book is written in an easy way to read. It's not a thick book. It's not a book with big, words and stuff like that. So the book is actually a manual, if I can say so, for young people to equip themselves in this time of our democracy.
And to start a dialogue.
Yeah, to provoke dialogue so that we can converse about issues that affect us, so that we can converse about, our future, because ultimately...
It's about the future.
Yeah,
It's
South
not
Africa
about the
belongs
now.
to us. We'll be expected to lead at some point.
So we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Fezile Sonkwane, he's the author of Native Footprints. It is his first offering. You can get hold of him at his website on WordPress. You can Google for more details. It's www.fezilesonkwane.wordpress.com, or look for him on Twitter and Facebook and get yourself a copy of this book. The foreword is done by Professor Sipho Siepe. We take an ad break. Don't go anywhere.